There is something deeply unsettling about a signal from space. Not an image. Not a distant blur through a telescope. A signal. A pattern. Something that begins in silence, then reaches across the dark and touches Earth. Because a signal feels personal. It feels intentional. Like the universe, for one impossible moment, stopped being scenery and started speaking. And the most disturbing part is this. Some of the strangest signals we have ever detected did not arrive from the neat, predictable universe we once imagined. They came from a cosmos that flickers, screams, pulses, vanishes, repeats, and in some cases, still refuses to explain itself. For most of human history, the night sky looked calm, ancient, cold, almost peaceful. But that peace was an illusion. The universe is not silent. It is alive with radiation, magnetic violence, collapsing stars, and bursts of energy so extreme they make our entire civilization feel temporary. And every so often, through all that chaos, we catch something so strange that even scientists pause and simply stare. To understand why these signals matter, imagine standing alone in an endless desert at night. No wind, no voices, no movement. No movement. Then, from far beyond the horizon, a single flash of sound arrives. Clear, structured, brief, and gone. That is what astronomers experience. They do not just look outward. They listen into an abyss so large that language begins to fail. An abyss measured not in miles, but in light years. Not in centuries, but in cosmic time. And from that abyss come signals that force us to confront a painful truth. The universe is far stranger than our instincts were built to handle. One of the first great shocks came in 19... Studying strange markings on long paper chart recordings from a radio telescope near Cambridge. Most of the signals were noise, interference, human machinery, static. But one pattern kept returning from the same place in the sky. It pulsed with astonishing regularity. Not random, not messy, precise. So precise that, half-jokingly, it was labeled LGM, short for Little Green Men. The joke did not last long. The source turned out to be the first pulsar ever discovered. A collapsed stellar core, roughly city-sized, spinning through space and sweeping out beams of radio waves like a cosmic lighthouse. Source that discovery changed more than astronomy. Because, for a brief moment, one of the best scientific minds on Earth had to entertain a possibility we rarely admit out loud. If a signal is too orderly, too perfect, too unnatural seeming, the human mind immediately reaches for intelligence. Not because aliens are the best explanation, because loneliness is... We are such deeply social creatures that when the cosmos produces rhythm, we feel presence. We hear intention inside physics. We project meaning into the dark. But pulsars taught us a harder lesson. Nature does not need intention to create wonder. It can generate clocks more precise than human hearts using only gravity, magnetism, and death. And that somehow makes the universe even more unsettling. Because if dead stars can impersonate design, then reality is playing at a scale where our intuitions are no longer trustworthy. Then came another signal, and this one never fully let go. In 1977, The Big Ear Radio Telescope in Ohio detected a powerful narrowband radio burst, unlike anything normally seen in its data. It lasted 72 seconds, strong enough that astronomer Jerry Emmon famously circled the printout and wrote one word beside it: "Wow." The signal came from the direction of Sagittarius, near the frequency hydrogen naturally emits it. It was never detected again. Not once. Decades passed. Explanations came and went. Instrumental error, human interference, natural astrophysical events, clouds of hydrogen, perhaps some rare amplification process. Nothing settled the matter completely. The wow signal remains one of the most famous unsolved episodes in the history of searching the sky. Source, and that is what makes it so psychologically powerful. Not that it proved anything. It didn't. Not that it confirmed intelligence. It didn't. It is powerful because it happened once. One clean, lonely anomaly. A knock on the door that was never repeated. No sender. No second message. No explanation solid enough to quiet the imagination. It left us in the worst possible state for a curious species. Close enough to speculate, too far to know. That may be the true emotional burden of astronomy. Not ignorance alone, but partial revelation. The universe almost tells us something, then withdraws. And just when we thought signals could not become more extreme, they did. In the early 2000s, hidden inside archived telescope data, astronomers found something now known as a fast radio burst. It lasted less than a blink, less than a heartbeat, less than the time it takes for your mind to notice a sound. But in that tiny instant, some of these bursts release staggering amounts of energy. NASA describes them as events that can emit, in 1,000th of a second, as much energy as the sun produces in an entire year. Source: that sentence barely feels legal. A year of solar output, compressed into a flash. To a human nervous system, that scale is almost abusive. Our brains evolved to track footsteps in grass, changes in weather, the expression on a face. We were not built to emotionally process a universe where something can outshine a star's yearly labor in a fragment of a second. And yet it gets stranger. Fast radio bursts were not just rare curiosities. More and more of them appeared. Some did not repeat. Some did. Some seemed tied to violent stellar remnants called magnetars. Neutron stars with magnetic fields so intense they defy ordinary language. Others emerge from galaxies so distant that their light began traveling toward us long before complex life appeared on Earth. So now imagine what that means. A star dies. Its core collapses. Matter is crushed to extremes, almost beyond comprehension. Magnetic fields twist space around it, and somewhere in that wreckage, a burst of radio energy is fired into the universe. It crosses intergalactic emptiness for millions or billions of years. It passes ghost-like through dark regions no human being will ever visit. Then, on one ordinary day, it brushes the surface of our planet, and a machine quietly records it. A catastrophe older than civilization arrives in a room full of electronics and coffee cups. This is astronomy at its most intimate and most cruel. We do not witness events as they are. We receive ancient consequences. And recently, the scale widened again. In 2023, astronomers reported the most distant fast radio burst yet detected. Its source galaxy was so far away that the light had traveled about 8 billion years to reach us. The burst lasted less than a millisecond, yet released the equivalent of roughly 30 years of the sun's total emission. Not only was it a mystery signal, It also became a tool, helping scientists probe the matter spread thinly between galaxies. The invisible ordinary matter the universe seems to hide from us. Source. Think about what that means. A mystery becomes an instrument. Something we do not fully understand is now helping us weigh the cosmos. There is something beautifully humbling in that. Humanity often imagines science as conquest, as mastery, as if knowledge is a flag planted on uncertainty. But much of science is more fragile than that, much more honest. Sometimes we hold up one mystery to illuminate another. We are not rulers of the universe. We are interpreters of faint echoes. And some echoes feel disturbingly alive. There are signals from black holes that resemble heartbeats, actual repeating X-ray patterns, rhythmic enough to earn that name, detected in systems where a black hole feeds on gas from a companion star. NASA described one such pattern as a kind of heartbeat because its signal resembled an electrocardiogram. The pulse likely comes from violent cycles in the hot inner disk of gas near the event horizon, where matter piles up, radiates, is pushed back, then falls inward again. In some systems, the cycle can repeat in mere seconds. Source a heartbeat. Even the vocabulary betrays us. We reach for the language of Bodhis because pure physics has become too intimate. But there is no heart there, no intention, no awareness. Just matter spiraling toward oblivion, glowing as it dies. A machine-generated pulse from the edge of no return. And still, when we hear it described that way, something inside us reacts, because it sounds like life where life cannot exist. This is the emotional trap of cosmic signals. Again and again, they mimic the familiar pulses, beats, repetitions, bursts, rhythms. They borrow the grammar of living things while emerging from places utterly hostile to life. The universe keeps producing patterns that feel meaningful to the human mind, while remaining utterly indifferent to human meaning. That indifference may be the deepest mystery of all. Not whether the signals come from aliens, not whether every anomaly will eventually be solved, but why reality is so capable of generating beauty without mercy. Consider the path of one of these messages. A signal is born in violence. It survives distances so enormous that our species, our nations, our wars, our triumphs shrink into something almost invisible. Civilizations may rise and vanish, while one burst is still en route. Entire languages can be born and die before a single flash reaches us. And when it does arrive, we call it data. That is both magnificent and heartbreaking, because hidden inside the word data is an encounter with scales that should shatter us. Space is not just big, it is emotionally unfair. It separates cause from effect by ages. It turns present tense events into archaeology. It forces us to accept that the universe we experience is already gone. Every cosmic signal is a ghost. Some are ghosts of dead stars. Some are ghosts of magnetic catastrophes. Some may be the signatures of processes we still barely grasp. And some, like the well signal, remain suspended in a permanent twilight between explanation and myth. But maybe that uncertainty is not a flaw. Maybe it is the correct human response to a reality this vast. We want closure. The cosmos offers perspective. We want answers that fit cleanly inside the mind. The universe keeps answering in scales, energies, and time spans that overflow it, and yet we keep listening. That may be the most extraordinary part of this story. Not that space sends mysterious signals, but the tiny beings on a thin layer of rock around an ordinary star-built instrument sensitive enough to hear them. We are fragile, biologically brief. Easily, our bodies cannot survive vacuum, radiation, or interstellar cold. We have not outrun our own planet. We may never outrun physics itself, and still, in this narrow window of consciousness, we learn to detect whispers from objects we cannot touch and events we can barely imagine. There is nobility in that, a species destined for smallness, reaching anyway, listening anyway, naming what frightens us, measuring what dwarfs us, finding structure in the roar. Maybe that is why these signals move us so deeply. They are not just astrophysical curiosities, they are mirrors. They expose the contrast between human scale and cosmic scale with unbearable clarity. A pulse from a neutron star reminds us that matter can survive in forms far beyond biology. A burst from across billions of light years reminds us that distance is not merely large. It is almost anti-human. A heartbeat from the brink of a black hole reminds us that rhythm is not the property of life alone. And an unsolved whisper like the wow signal reminds us that even now, after centuries of science, the universe still contains rooms we have not entered. That should not make Earth feel less meaningful. It should make it feel miraculous, because against all this cold grandeur, our world is a rare kind of answer. Here, signals do not just travel. They are heard, interpreted, wondered about, feared, loved. Loved. On this one small planet, the universe has become conscious enough to notice its own strangeness. That may be our role. Not masters, not chosen observers. Just a brief, curious way for the cosmos to listen to itself. And perhaps that is enough. Perhaps the value of these mysterious signals is not that they promise some final revelation, but that they keep us awake. They prevent the night sky from becoming decoration. They remind us that beyond the warmth of this world lies a reality vast enough to humble every empire, every certainty, every human timeline, a reality that still pulses in the dark, still flashes, still sends messages with no concern for whether we understand them. So the next time you look up, remember, tease above that calm sky is a universe filled with invisible storms and ancient transmissions. Somewhere, right now, a dead star is sweeping a beam across the galaxy. Somewhere, a magnetar may be releasing another impossible burst. Somewhere, near a black hole, matter is falling inward in rhythmic waves we can only describe with the language of the body. And somewhere in the archive of human observation, a few signals still wait without explanation, patient as the dark itself. We are small enough to be frightened by that, and wise enough to be moved by it. If this journey through the strangest voices of the cosmos stayed with you, consider sharing it with someone else who still looks up and feels the mystery. And if you want more quiet voyages into the beautiful and indifferent universe above us, you can subscribe and return when the next signal arrives.